Session. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining in. This I really felt was something close to all our hearts. It got triggered by a lot of discussions I was seeing 2 weeks ago, mainly through a Lenin report that was published, and Sheryl Sandberg was on quite a number of webinars where they had done a research and come out with the fact that, and also US Labor Department had also published it, that out of the number of people who dropped out of the workforce in the last 8 months because of all the COVID situations and the pandemic, for every man who dropped out of the workforce, there were 8 women who dropped out. So that was a stark difference in terms of the toll this pandemic has taken on the workforce. And the difference due to gender has been alarming. And the predictions are that whatever strides we have made in gender equity has been set back by a couple of decades. This is what the US folks are thinking. So we do not have that kind of numbers for India. So this discussion really is, for us, we are all women in tech. We are working on the ground. We have organizations we are working for, which accounts for a good percentage of women who are in the workforce. We are seeing people around us. We are seeing people among our friends, among our colleagues, among our classmates who are working in other organizations. So this is to get an on-the-ground perspective of how do we see it where we are. How is it in India? How is it in the tech industry in India? So these are the 2 specific questions we'll be focusing on. So invite all of you to, the speakers mainly, to share your experiences, your personal, what you're seeing around you, what you're seeing in your teams, what you're seeing across the organization, and what is it we want to take forward. Is this what today's session will focus on? And as I said before, others who are participating, if you have questions, if you want to add anything, please go ahead and put it in the chat box between me, Padma, and Palashi. We'll coordinate that and make sure that gets addressed. So as we kick off, I'm just going to call out the speakers, and we'll do a quick round of introductions. Starting off with, I hope all of you know me. So this is Maggie Numuthia. I'm in Bangalore. I work at Anitabi.org India. And I'll call out folks and just come and tell us who you are, and then we will start the discussion. We'll start with Manisha, who joined in first. Manisha Agarwal.
Hi, thank you, Maggie. I'm Manisha Agarwal. I work with ANZ. I'm also in Bangalore, and I have about 10 years of experience in industry. I've worked in various technical domains, which I'll not go into. I'll skip the details. How am I connected to Anita B? I have been attending GHCI since last 2 years, and I actively follow the kind of talks that come out, different webinars that come out, and I find it as a very good networking opportunity for women folks to go out there and connect with the leaders and get into technical sessions as well. So that is my relationship with Anita B. Thank you. Over to you, Maggie. I hope I was not talking on mute.
All right, moving on to Shalini, who joined us next.
And sorry, going from the top, I am Associate Vice President at Infosys, a senior industry principal with deep expert in quality engineering. In terms of my association with Anita B, I've been both a speaker and a volunteer with Anita B for 5 years now. And for last couple of years, I've been the community leader for our Hyderabad local community. Really proud of our thriving community. And Manisha, like you said, I love the fact that we come together, the topics we discuss, and all the conversations we do. So glad to be here. Back to you, Maggie.
My name is Vaishali. I am the co-community lead with Gayatri for the Chennai community at Anita B. And until recently, I was the chief marketing officer for a fintech company called OpenTap. So that's who I am. Maggie?
Moving on to Ashu. Ashu, are you on?
Yes, Maggie, I'm there. So this is Ashu Thangaraj. I am Director of Engineering with a company named OpenText. My relationship with Anita.org, I have been associated with various roles, but for this year, I'm the track chair for design for digital experiences track. And that's who I am. Back to you, Maggie.
Gayatri?
I'm a co-chair of the community lead. So I am the community lead along with Vaishali, and I have been working with GHCI for now 3-4 years. But officially, I've been associated only for the last 2 years. I'm a partner with TM Power Consulting. We provide consulting services around agile transformation, digital transformation, and the likes. Back to you, Maggie.
Maggie, you are again on.
Thanks, Gayatri. Prasanna?
Yeah, hi. I'm Prasanna. I'm based out of Hyderabad. I'm part of. I'm a senior director for engineering at Progress Software, and I'm also committee in Hyderabad for the Anita chapter.
Hello everyone, I'm Lakshya. I'm based out of Bangalore. I manage the Women Tech Makers program for India and Southeast Asia. It's one of the women in tech communities, and I've had the pleasure of working with a lot of communities and corporates in the women in tech space. My association with ABI has been right from an attendee for 5 years, a speaker in 2018, and a committee member from the past 3 years. And I've really enjoyed this collaboration experience.
Awesome.
This is Samya. Hi, this is Samya. I work as a engineering VP at JP Morgan and Chase. I'm associated with Anita B for a couple of years now. I'm a committee member and a track chair for Transform Service Operations for this year. Back to you, Maggie.
Yeah, hi. There is some delay with my network, so I'm just put off my video. Hi all. I'm Shriranjani. I'm currently in Hyderabad, and I have been associated with Anita Borg for the last 2 years as a committee member in AI and machine learning track. I have, been the senior research engineer in research labs. And apart from that, I'm a Google developer expert and a community organizer of TensorFlow user group in Hyderabad. Thank you. Over to you, Maggie.
That covers everyone on the call because I didn't hear from Tanya. I don't think she's on either. So we are good to start. And as I said, it's going to be free. Just unmute yourself and speak. And if 2 people are speaking, of course, we all know how to coordinate among ourselves in any conference call. So let's keep it a free-flowing, interactive conversation. But the question I really want all of us to start off with is, we all have debated and talked about the issues and the effects of the pandemic on women in tech, the increased amount of housework that we have taken up doing and the stress it has turned into at work. And the other thing that has also come up in the past few months is how women don't want to discuss it. And also talking about how is there a good understanding of what it means, how it affects the different genders. These are all undercurrents that have been running besides the mental health issues that are mounting. So these are all the undercurrents we are seeing from the recent shifts to the work from home and how it has also impacted the industry and the economy overall. In your experience, if we can start off with, what is your view on how it is affecting? Some of you have even alluded to positive impacts. I think India as a subcontinent and the kind of work we do here has also contributed to that. But what are you seeing? If we can just, all of you can share, take a couple of minutes to share and start with that. We can kick off the conversation from there.
Okay, I'll go first. So Manisha here. I think pandemic has definitely had negative impacts on us, and there are positives as well. So let's start with the positive ones. The foremost positive impact that pandemic has had on us is increased family time, which is really, really good. Like on a personal level also, before the pandemic, I have not spent as much time with my family as I'm able to do now. That is one good point I'm seeing. Second good point that I'm seeing, which has a long-term impact also, is the drive to do a lot more certifications and to be able to devote more time to our self-learning. That is something that I am seeing. It's a personal experience. Also, just talking to a few people who are working in the field of certifications and education. So they are also seeing a shift in the number of people who are coming in to do the certifications now. So for some people it is self-motivated. For some it is also forced because they have a fear of losing the job. So they are now moving towards increasing their own learning so that they are better prepared for what might come tomorrow. So whether forced or self-intuitive or self-driven, it is still a good thing to get certifications and increase your skill level. So there are many negative things. I just wanted to start positive. So these are my 2 points there.
So Manisha, since we are almost going by the order that we introduced ourselves, maybe I'll go next. I want to call out another positive. I personally have also felt this, and having spoken to a few of my friends, I think this pandemic has made us aware that there is another way of working. And, you know, the initial fears or the earlier fears that we all had about face-to-face meetings, I'm not saying that in-human contact is absolutely not needed. I am sure once travel resumes, we will see a fair amount of travel happening as well. However, I do see this as a positive because for women, travel used to be a challenge even in normal times because of multiple reasons, family responsibilities, all the additional accountabilities that women take upon themselves sometimes without asking for enough help. I believe that this has shown us a new way of working, and hence the demands on travel have decreased on women. And that, in my mind, should allow more and more women to continue working and participate more actively, even when it comes to women in technology. I do want to call out, because in my mind, the negative impact of it is very much correlated with this positive impact, and that is the amount of work that happens at home. In fact, I'm reading this book where it talks about in India, close to 84% of unpaid work is being done by women. Now, of course, that data is across different sectors, it's across different levels and income levels. But I wouldn't be surprised if the percentage of unpaid work that women in tech do is also pretty high, and that has only seen an increase because of everybody staying at home. So frankly, I debate whether the amount of time that we are saving from not having to travel or the commute time, is it enough to substantiate and qualify for the extra unpaid work that we are doing at home? I do not have an answer, but I do see that as a bad impact of women in tech, or pretty much any woman being at home because of the pandemic. I'm going to pass my relay raise baton to the next speaker.
Yes. Sure. I wanted to add my points, as you both have covered positives. So initially, when this pandemic has started, it was all good. So trying to spend time more with the family and all. But subsequently, when the support systems were also not allowed to be helping us out, and I have 7-year-old twins. So imagine engaging them without a school and their online classes, and then having some critical meetings at the same time. I think that balance was something which was kind of stressful, but that was only initially. Right now, I understood, I mean, at least from my opinion or whatever experience goes, I was able to at least correlate and help others, help my friends or family, ensuring giving some tips like, okay, plan your meetings not during or have whenever kids don't have their online classes, it's going to be only 1.5 or 2 hours. So but engaging kids after, because if it was school, they have their dedicated time where they can be physically active, and also they have their own kind of group group time, or where they can be socially active as well. But right now they have to be within our homes, where I find it little difficult to engage them throughout, where it's increasing more screen time along with the online classes. And also whenever we are busy, me and my husband, whenever we are busy, so it has increased their screen time, I would say, and also kind of little stressful compared to when we are going to office and we have that time. At least there is a timeline. By 5 o'clock we'll be back to home. 5 to 6, okay, we will help kids do their homework, then have them feed and make them to sleep, and then get back to work. But right now everything is like you're available throughout the day to work, and as well as for the kids to be engaged. So those are the 2 points which I thought I'll put it forward.
Thanks, Soumya. I think I can go next. Can you all hear me fine?
Can hear you.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, Soumya. I think my personal experience has been, it was adapting to this new way of life took me a couple of months, 1 or 2 months, to actually figure out things, figure out even the balance between how, the household chores will actually be distributed between, say, me and my husband. Say Thursdays are light for him and the remaining days are, we try and balance that. So that kind of, setting expectations took time. But I think with that, a lot of positives that I see personally, and everybody's situation and circumstances are different. I feel I have got a lot of time to invest in my personal upskilling, branding, and really take care of myself. Like a lot of time for self-care, and obviously there's a lot of flexibility. So I decide, few days that I want to take, night calls today, and then I end up starting my day a little late in the next day. So that in terms of flexibility, I think everybody has become more open. Both teams co-located in the same place as yours, and even across different time zones. Travel, I think a lot of people have spoken about travel. I think I am super happy. Like for me, the biggest positive is both not only travel to work, which saves me 3 hours in a day, but also travel to other cities, travel to other countries, and there's like so much of things that have to be taken care of and planned. So all that is cut off. But with this, I think there are cons for sure, which we cannot discount, which is we're constantly multitasking between home and work. Sometimes we get to hear from parents saying, you really don't have time to, really look at your life and spend time with family, right? Sometimes, I do calls at like 11:30 and 12 with my parents because the entire day just goes in, different other things. And I think there's the line, the demarcation between work and life is really blurred. And I think there are more cons to that than pros. So these were, my 2 cents on the topic.
So I'm just going to take off from where Lakshya left about travel and tie in with what Manisha and Shalini were also saying about the time that is taken to either go to work and come back home or to do out of station travel. I think what work from home has done for all of us is that there is really no start time and no finish time. You can start at 6 o'clock in the morning, and because you're at home, everybody expects that you will be available at any time. They'll call you at any time that takes their fancy, and you don't know when you're going to finish. So it's a very amorphous, amoebic structure. And because you supposedly save 3 hours from commuting or going to work and coming back, those 3 hours unfortunately are plowed back right into doing additional work. And what it does is, because there is no start time and no finish time, the amount of work that just piles on and lands up at your desk is that much higher. And because of that, what is happening, to Manisha's point on certification, and I know this personally because I had signed up for, I think, 3 courses, and I'm in the middle of one, and I have just not found time to proceed beyond a few hours. because the demand of this, there's really no start time, finish time. And then you have to look at things at home, and then there is work. And between that, if you have to look at yourself, self-learning and additional courses that you're signing up for just doesn't happen. And within our community, we've seen a lot of people, and when I say community, I'm talking about the Anita B Chennai community. We've seen a lot of people saying they're unable to spare the time, and we're seeing volunteers struggling. And these are people who love doing volunteering work. They've been associated with us for a really long time. They give it their heart and soul, and they're struggling to find time. People are falling sick, and the me time that we're all talking about, I think, has dramatically reduced, dramatically.
Very well.
I'll pick up from.
In fact, one of the things that I felt when I started working from home was that as a trainer and a coach, I found it very hard to first adapt. I thought I always had the strength that when you meet in person, my energy and other person's energy will kind of catapult, right? It's easier to get that energy and some level of dynamics also. That was missing. And later, it took me a while to understand all the digital tools to get that moving. The second aspect that I said I should turn it around and start attending conferences, speaking in conferences, not just in India, across the globe. So, for example, I've had a speaking opportunity, attended many conferences in this period. That way, it's good to know that there is no boundary. Earlier, there is a concept of you have to be in a place, and there is a need for sponsoring places and all of that. That sort of made me think that I should look at it without boundary. But again, that also flipped in from a personal side. As Vaishali put, a lot of people are falling sick, be it family side, be it friends. You become, when you are sick, somebody else is helping you. The same way when as women, you end up being the quote unquote fulcrum of problems, right? When there's a problem, also you become the sink to hear it, to help that problem, as well as when somebody is sick and when you have a deliverable, can you guess which one takes more priority? At least in my mind, I know I may not be excellent in prioritization, but I always say, okay, somebody is not well, that person needs immediate help. So that sort of puts a strain not only on the meantime, but also your initiatives, your work, and to some extent, I have also been guilt tripping. So at least one thing that I stopped doing in the last month and a half is I tell all my stakeholders and people that this is where I am. This is where, so that way there is less of an there's a better understanding of where I am, and it's not about just me slacking away. And it's also the second aspect is makes me less guilty and go to creating a set of stories or creating a set of tasks to be done and just focus towards finishing. So those are the things that I'm trying now. And of course, the best part about is having family together, and people around me are safe during the COVID situation. That in itself is a blessing in my view. And creating a better vibe within the community is something that we are, at least in the Chennai community, we are trying to do more and more. I'm interested as to how others are also thinking.
So I'll probably go next. So I think we've been hearing all aspects, but looks like I think the common thread has been if women are able to more freely express their situation, right, and seek help when needed, and also be able to clearly set expectation on their availability or non-availability, I think the stress factors can reduce drastically. So I think if organizations are providing that open environment, right, where instead of thinking because we are working from home, everybody is available whenever it's required, if team members are able to easily inform their schedules for that day and adapt, I think it drastically reduces the stress and other things, right? Because people who have younger kids, definitely they're more challenged than other people who have probably don't have that challenge. So I think definitely because you can't have as much domestic help as we probably had the luxury in India earlier, is mainly because of the health concerns. I think that has impacted everyone in what additional efforts they need to put in at home. But if they're able to somehow manage that, then I think it works out better. And then all these other factors of not having to deal with sort of travel, right? Not talking about the travel, everyday travel. Those things are making it less, I guess, definitely easier for women to deal with certain things than otherwise. And I think all the work from home, it's working effectively because everyone is working from home, right? When things go back to normal, we're still gonna have a disadvantage if people want to work from home more than the rest of the team is inclined to. But I think given the situation, I think people, they need to figure out how to make their family and others support and not try to take everything upon themselves. That's the way to balance it, I think.
Yeah, so I think a lot of good points, but I think personally for me, and especially in my organization, we were not a very believer in work from home. So this pandemic actually put a lot of challenge in terms of, how do we work. Everyone went into work from home and pretty much very smoothly, I would say, right? So on the pro side, I would say like a lot of opportunities came up, right? Like typically when we used to have meetings with the US folks also, we used to be just audio. Now every meeting is on video, right? So you get to know people much better in terms of face-to-face interaction. A lot of networking is now happening virtually, right? So it's whether you are here or any part of the globe, it's almost the same. I think it's just about the time zone matching that we have to do. So with that, I think in terms of the work itself, right, the productivity and everything, I think a lot of good strides have been made, I would say, right. Family time, definitely spend a lot of time, with their family. On the cons of the things, I really think, this whole balancing, the times are blurring between, your family time, your office time, your me time, where you really look into, what needs to be done. And I think for me personally, and I've seen it with at least a couple of folks, we are able to manage, we are able to give time, slots for where we have to take care of work front, where we have to take care of house front and all. But I think in all these, the me time is going on getting squeezed, right? And that I think in now probably we don't really see, but when you see 3 months, 6 months down the line, how much of the time are we really looking into our own self-development, our own, I think our own even planning the way we do our projects, right? How much are we spending time on those things, right? Things could be done much more efficiently, right? And I think personally, I don't see, me taking that much time out, contemplating on all that. And I've seen few women even struggling with that, right? It's more about like how they do things task-based, right? Okay, today I have so many things, let me just get done with that, right? And then your work and home, you just have that much time to do. So I think that is something which is getting impacted. And whether we like it or not, personal interaction does have a lot of merit, right? So conflicts, negotiations, which you could do virtually, vis-a-vis what you could do in person, I think there is definitely an impact over there. But yeah, I think make the best out of what we have, while we are working from home. I think that's the mantra right now.
Yeah, I would like to go next. So I think everyone has covered, the points about work from home, balance, and travel, certifications, etc., which is, I think, the most of the top concern for every woman who's working at different stages of life. So for me, it is more towards I'm a new mother. So I think that itself poses a lot of challenge, and increasing that with upgrading yourself with a skill set in the market, in the changes, pose a different challenge altogether. Apart from that, I could see a lot of issues with respect to unemployment, layoff, etc. Where women. I mean, I could see women who are there in both stages, that okay, they want to jump to a new company where they can upgrade their skills and go for a better positions, in which yes, they are getting a better roles. Also, women who are self-employed, who are an individual contributor, who has been paid in a different way, not like a steady income from a big companies. So they also face a lot of issues during this time, because many of them have been laid off, and you have to find another source of income, and how are you going to manage with the changes in the economic challenges, etc. So that putting along with work from home issues, and your me time, physical exercise, and so all these things are a big challenge which I see among people around me. Also, so basically to condense it, one thing I would say that is upgradation of skills for women who has known how to do it is great. They can just try to do. But for people who don't know much about how to upgrade skills in this particular technology advanced world, and still want to go for a better roles, I think they have definitely issues. And also unemployment and laying off has been drastically increased during this time. So how to cope up with that, I think that is a big challenge. And people like me, who are like a new mother, or a person who has taken a break or a sabbatical, and for them, how you are going to increase their skill set, or how the industry is going to see them during this pandemic, and are they going to support them by providing a better opportunities, or are you going to say that okay, you have taken a break, and also our economic situation is bad, so we don't want to employ you. So how these kind of situations have been managed, I think that I would really want to put as a negative with respect to this pandemic. So this might not always be only with respect to women, but still, since we are women-only tech, we can just see or take points from women side as well.
Great. I think almost everyone has spoken. Shalini, did you want to add? I see your hand raised.
Maggie, I just wanted to share a personal experience with everybody, and especially everybody who's talking about balancing the me time thing, something that I've discovered recently. As my birthday gift, which was spent just between me and my husband, he got me these earpods. So completely hands-free, Bluetooth enabled earphones. And what I have hence been able to do is, while I'm mopping the house, sweeping the house, because no domestic help, we don't have our bai, we are paying her, so I'm keeping her on the rolls, but she has not entered my house for 7 months. So it's between me and my husband, we do the mopping, sweeping. I love cooking, and these earpods actually help me to do all of that. I have signed up for Audible, and in past 7 months, I think I've done 7 or 8 books. I've revised my Jane Austens. I'm, looking at or listening to new authors, all while cleaning up my house and cooking. So I just wanted to share it with everybody. As you find all these additional things that you have to do and you like to do, this is a good way both to de-stress and even upskill yourself. Not necessarily a certification, but I believe I'm a better person for all the reading, rather the listening of the books that I have done. That's something I wanted to share, Maggie, as a personal experience. Back to you.
That's great. Although this Bluetooth earphones is something I cannot imagine my life without. That's how it's been all these years for me. So anyways, one thing I just wanted to ask all of you, and all of us spoke from what we went through and what we are seeing. Do we think it impacts the genders differently? Everyone is working from home. All of us are being affected by not having the face-to-face interactions. 2 points really stood out for me in everything that you shared. Ashu shared about she mentioned the word negotiations, right? Women in workplaces, especially when we're negotiating for ourselves, it's a proven thing that we don't do a great job of that. When we're negotiating our own description of the job we do, the kind of title we get, or the kind of salary, pay rise, promotions, whatever. So has this played a negative impact on this, having to do all of this over the phone or over a video call rather than on a face-to-face basis? Second is the unemployment. Thankfully, we are in a sector which did quite well in spite of the pandemic. I will not say quite well, but I think we scraped through because technology was literally holding the world together. So, and it worked well, having a huge technology industry presence in India worked. Nevertheless, unemployment, layoffs are not things that did not touch us either. So in these two perspectives, do you think women were more negatively impacted than the men? I mean, from a really gender perspective, sitting where we are, do you see that as a difference? It's a great thing. All of us have coped really well. We've done the best out of what was handed to us, but did we really have to go through that much extent to even, stay where we are? So.
Not really in my experience. As I said, I work with ANZ and it's a pretty gender-friendly company. There's a lot of focus on gender equality. So in terms of negotiations and unemployment, there has not been negative impact, at least for me in the organization that I am in. I'm not sure about how it is outside.
So Maggie, actually, I have also personally not heard, I've been speaking to a lot of people, I've not heard women getting more impacted than men in terms of layoffs or the loss, the job losses. So that whole US study that you were talking about, I have not seen on the ground proof of that, just in my personal circle.
Maggie, I'm not a speaker, but I want to make a comment. If you can give me some time after the speakers finish.
Yeah, Samya. So does anyone else want to chime in on that negotiation front and employment ability front?
I have been an independent consultant for long. I personally lost my consulting engagement in July, and I'm still looking for assignments. And at least the pricing is extremely low. At least not for the salary class, but folks who are looking at consulting engagements as well as independent ones, separate ones. If you just have to do it, marquee ones. First, I think the purse strings are quite tight, and because of that, it is negotiations are very tight. And I do think that during this time, the level of number of people who are approaching also is limited to your size of your network. So if you have built a great network, or if you're continuing to build a good network, irrespective of the gender, it will work. The usual places where we used to get, right? We go to conferences, you meet them, you make a pitch. All of that has completely turned virtual. So it depends on how much of you have become digital. That it is that skill, and not necessarily whether, at least in my view, it's not very specific gender. But I have heard a couple of people in my network who decided to quit their jobs during the pandemic. After the all three of them are women. who said, no, this is becoming too much to handle, and not just from a housework perspective, but also the level of amount of work that I have to do, and the balancing act that all of you mentioned. I think that I have heard personal stories of them, but I do believe that is an impact. The networking and how much are you able to negotiate. These two are impacting. I do believe that it's a matter of each person. It's not necessarily even gender.
Maggie, this is Nivedita. Maybe I'll just add a little bit on the employment front that because of this pandemic, in a lot of companies, either the promotion cycle or the merit increase cycle that was deferred or delayed or something. So I'm aware of some organizations where people were expecting the promotions to the next level or something, and that got shifted by, I don't know, maybe a year or another 6 months. So that has definitely been an impact. So it does hinder your growth if you're continuing with the same organization. So that's one negative I have seen.
Hi, this is Priyanka, and I too have seen what Nivedita has said, but I'm Priyanka. I'm at TCS, and whatever is happening at TCS is pretty much public news. And as personally, I have not been affected as a employee. I have not been affected in such an adverse way that I would have something to contribute to that. But my sister, she works for a startup and used to. And this pandemic brought about a complex set of situations, which I think a lot of people are facing. That is where there is domestic issues, and those domestic issues become issues for a struggling startup because they are struggling because of the pandemic. And even so, it comes to breaking points on both fronts. That is both at the domestic front as well as the work front. And of course, she got laid off. And she not only got laid off, her personal domestic situation has also gone very bad. So bad that, like, it was a challenge trying to evacuate her from such a difficult situation. So for somebody like that, who is she's obviously a leader in STEM, but if that's happening with her, I can imagine that's happening with a lot of other people as well. And there are so many others like that. And so this becomes a complex issue. And the only thing that I can think of here, as what I can think of, and is that it brings about, and the pandemic is not ending in any time soon, is what I've heard. Nothing is certain, and nothing seems to give so much hope that we will not have to continue with this kind of a work environment going forward. So in that sense, maybe it's time that both at the government level as well as organization level, it is important that certain norms about how companies behaviorally work with their employees, and how they are more cognizant of problems, issues, etc., and be more socially aware about the current situations. It becomes more and more important, and that needs to be not a single company or a single organization demonstrating it as something that they do and something that's good for them. But this whole concept of diversity and inclusion needs to become more standardized, I feel, at least at a minimum. And that's what I felt from this whole issue.
Thanks,
Priyanka, this is Zena.
I just want to add that we are in this today. We are going to keep it limited to the 12 speakers who put on their comments, and others will take it up from the chat. Vaishali, I see your hand raised. I think, and I'm sure you have been seeing a lot of that also. So one thing I just want to emphasize here is, I think based on the kind of organization we work in, the experience could be different. Larger organizations have been able to provide a better support. I've heard of companies that provide entertainment to keep children occupied, to give the parents a break. Things like that have also been rolled out by some of the organizations. But smaller organizations, like Priyanka said, the startups, they don't have that kind of facilities, and they really have to cut their costs and be very, very black and white and drastic about what is it they're putting their money into. So that way, what Gayatri added was very grounding. She coming from a consulting background and looking at what the market looks like in this scenario. So I just want to add that context and invite Vaishali to share what she does.
So without, hey,
we can hear you, Vaishali. Go ahead.
So without really taking names, this whole thing of there is, can everyone else go on mute, please? Yeah, okay, thank you. So like I was saying, without really taking names, this whole thing Manisha was talking about, Shalini was talking about, and Maggie, you put it very nicely, that the larger organizations perhaps could be a little more accommodative. I was watching the chat as well. Somebody was saying that earlier when you were on a video call, you had to be careful that your pets or your children or your husband or anybody else doesn't show up. And now, given how much we are working from home, it's actually okay, but actually it's not, right? So here's a personal experience. We're on this call, some 10 of us. We're all working from home. We can control the situation inside our house. We really can't control the situation outside. And we actually had somebody senior yelling that it's not okay that somebody is banging something above your house. Cut the noise. How do you do that? You are talking. The neighbor upstairs is suddenly having a drilling problem. Yeah, you're not going to tell the neighbor, dude, I'm on a conference call. Stop the drilling. So this understanding that we're talking about, I think mature organizations and mature leaders bring that understanding. Even if the organization is, let's say, small, the leader has to be very mature. If the leader is not mature, this whole work from home situation, children popping up, noise coming from around your, around your surrounding environment, it's not going to cut it at all. You have to be in this pristine, sound-free little box. You have to have this perfect background and everything. Yeah, it's not as hunky-dory as everyone thinks it is. It's not.
Yeah, and I think to Vaishali's point, I think having senior leaders in the organization, especially at the top level, I think driving the message on how they're going to be supportive of this pandemic and the work from home, I think is very essential. Because like I've seen at our organization, the chief people officer, she's a lady, I think she intentionally sort of has her kids pop in during some of these meetings just to show that it is actually happens and it is fine. Right, and to make other people feel comfortable that if it happens, don't panic about it. So I think what expectations and the way the top leadership leads, I think goes a long way in the experience of the employees at an organization.
Agree to that, Prasanna. So that I would like to share two experiences on that. So in my husband's organization, their leadership stepped up and said that it's not, you have stepped into your kids' time. Your kids have not stepped into your time because they are used to you going out of office and working. But now that you've started working from home, which is actually your kids' area, you are getting into their space. So allow them all the liberty, even if they step into video calls. So that is all right. That is experience one. Second experience has been, I work on a technology called Splunk, and Splunk recently had its conference, a very wide annual event that happens. They had a special segment wherein people could bring in their kids, their pets, or anyone else they work with who is more like a co-worker for them, because now that only co-workers are your kids, your family, or your pets at home, right? So they had a special section for that. So a lot of people, a lot of organizations and leaderships are also promoting that personal touch into our work lives. The other social networking that we had at office has anyway died down to a great extent. So all we have is everything at home, and if we have good leadership, definitely it is getting appreciated at so many different levels.
And I just wanted to add one point. During this pandemic, with limited job opportunities, I could see that most of the organizations are trying to fill with the diversity positions, the gender diversity mostly. So that is also something which I could see.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Job opportunities have been coming, and I am seeing openings. Which is why I'm saying this industry, technology as industry, I think we've probably been luckier compared to other industries. One question, and then, let's look at what is on the chat and if anything needs to be addressed. We touched base a little bit on it, but have there been difficulties as a team player, as a leader versus an individual contributor? How has that impacted? And again, just put on your gender hat and think from that as well. It's our personal experience, but there is also a layer of how our gender is perceived and the already existing unconscious biases really coming as a blocker at this point. So from that perspective, working with your co-workers, working with your boss, and as an individual contributor working with stakeholders, how has that been?
For me, being managing a team, I could see that when it comes to comparatively, so women are being less available compared to the men over there. So they are pretty much taking up more. What I could say is whenever needed, they are available for a longer time than women within the team is what I could observe. I wouldn't say that is an issue, but that is something, the availability or the balance where we used to, earlier, if it was within the office premise, it was easy for us to allocate work equally. But right now, due to these, availability or taking more work, more leaves, I would say, because they are getting too much of stress or something. So I could see more women taking leaves compared to men.
Well, that's an interesting observation.
Yeah, I would also like to add about the same point as the individual contributor that as everyone said that, if I feel that effectiveness in communicating is very important. Like even though you have a very good team leader who is able to understand your situation as a woman and give more slack for accepting the things around you, or how Vaishali spoke about the environmental changes, but still you have to cope up with that, and leaders are helping throughout, which is very valid and an important point. What I feel is that as an individual contributor and with respect to the team meetings, maybe we have to be a little bit more effective in communicating. Say, for example, a meeting which was taking only 1 hour when you actually meet in person might take a long hours when you are actually in the virtual environment. And that might pose multiple challenges. So how are we going to redefine ourselves for the working situation in the work from home option is also very important, I feel.
I'm not very sure if the level of either individual contributor or a leader or a manager matters. The only thing I do agree with what you're saying is I do see women having that inhibition to have video on. In a normal, let's say a stand-up or even a planning conversation, there is more inhibition in terms of having it, and that also some extent translates. But I don't see I don't see that propagating in the leadership level. There are more leaders. I think there is a lesser inhibition to let the irrespective of how you look, those inhibitions kind of go down. Maybe that is one I'm observing in the change. But otherwise, what happens is more and more you have such inhibitions. There may be other set of biases that starts forming in people's minds, be it in availability or be it being approachable and all of that. So that's something that I want to share, because this is something that I was coaching for my teams.
Yeah, so another thing that we have done in our organization, right, the senior leaders, especially the women leaders, have reached out to many people, many ICs, right, and had some kind of a we called it reaching out initiative, and it was just a small talk with them, and just to get a feel of how they are doing in this whole work from home and environment, and what are the struggles and what are the challenges. And I think initially when we started off this whole thing, it was pretty looking at all the things that people were struggling with. Um, while many of them found out what works for them, I think it was a very good insight in terms of how different people have managed this whole situation, right? Plus I think the whole appreciation in terms of leadership taking that call, right, that to reach out to women employees and see how they are trying to work, manage their work, manage their housing, and setting some kind of an expectation. Okay, from an organization level, what do we need to do? So I think that is something we did for almost like randomly for 20% of our women employees, and that helped. That gave some insights as well, on which I think the organization has taken few steps as well. Right, so we gave some kind of self-care day in between off, and we're encouraging people to utilize all of their leaves if it is really needed. So I think multiple things came out of through that reaching out initiative, specifically for women employees.
Maggie, I want to add, from a leadership perspective, I really think that everybody on this meeting and their friends, all of us play a leadership role. And I'm not talking about the years of experience. I mean, I'm just saying leadership roles. From that perspective, what I have realized is that women anyhow, even this is the time in my mind, the unconscious bias that a woman is more sympathetic, full of empathy, a listener. I have used that to my advantage. And in a leadership role, I've set up a meeting at 4 p.m. and insisted that everybody get a cup of coffee or tea or whatever they used to if they were at work, typically when they were taking a break, and just talked about something that was not connected to work. I know it seems like a contrary idea, because you think anyhow we have so much to do, might as well just finish office conversations. But I realized that I started that trend with my small team, 4 p.m. on Fridays or 4 p.m. on Thursdays, and it actually did help. People started saying this is a good break, and I had more presence in that meeting than my staff meeting equivalent, because people just wanted to come in. And interestingly, I know we have been talking about women facing all of this. In my team, I had some young men who were living by themselves, and for them, it was, the way the society is, for them, it was such a big deal. They could not figure out what to do. And these 4 p.m., chai pe charcha kind of meetings, to just tell them how to make a easy pulao at home and not having to wash multiple vessels was helpful. So I guess what I want to say is that as women, as leaders, all of us can start these small trends. And I do believe that that will help both bring back the little bit of water cooler connects, as well as create this positive domino effect, because I know then after me starting it, couple of other people started it as well. So we are in this together. We have to figure out ways to be in this together for, I don't know, at least next 6 months. So just wanted to share that as a leadership position, and I'm assuming everybody on this call is a leader.
Thanks, Shalini. I think I'll just add like 10 seconds to this, Maggie. I concur with what Shalini said, because we organize something like that for ourselves as well. And coincidentally, we called it as Chai Pe Charcha sessions. We used to speak anything and everything, right from, sometimes politics, but how to make a tea, a lemon tea, or, just show up in your brightest outfit, to just talk about some ice cream, or, what you miss the most, or anything. I think that actually proved to be one of the best stress busters, because we did some offline survey on it, and people just said that they came into that session without any inhibitions. And I think one of the best thing that came out was like, everybody's in the same boat. Like, we think that we are in the worst position, but that is not true. Everybody's sailing, in various parts of lives, everybody's facing something or the other. So I think that worked out very positively and very well for us.
Thank you. Vaishali, I see that your hand is raised. Is there anything you would like to add?
Oh, this was the previous one, Maggie.
All right, cool. Padma, I'm just going to call on you because I've not been looking at the chat. Anything there from there we need to raise here between Padma, Palashi, if you guys want to chime in and bring in any questions or points?
Sure, Maggie, just a minute. I'm going to lower hands who have already spoken. Shalini has also spoken.
Maggie, Pooja here. Can I add few points?
We'll just finish this round of what is in the chat and then...
yeah, Pooja has a question in the chat. So, yeah, Pooja.
No, yeah.
Is this the same Pooja? Pooja Rao from NetApp?
Yes, yes.
Go ahead, ask your question, Pooja, and after that, Preeti had something. Then we will we'll just take those two guys, Pooja and Preeti, and then we'll move on to our panelist again and close it after that. Go ahead, Pooja.
So so it's not a question. I just wanted to share the experience from my organization. As we are talking, like people think it like all the people are all time available, and initially when the work from home started, everyone faced the problem of so many meetings, especially for women, because we know the kids are more attached to mother. So it was a concern raised. And what we did here is we made some particular slots, like say Monday half day, Thursday second half, second Friday full day. It's kind of no meetings day. So that actually helped everybody, women and men both. But yes, because we need to spend more time with kids, and having multiple meetings add a lot of pressure. So that was helpful. So I just wanted to share that experience here.
That's a good point. Preeti, would you like to come in? Preeti Bhaskar.
Yeah, thanks, Maggie. So I really like that the point of negotiation, how this pandemic has impacted. So I had a unique experience because the year 2020 has been marked as the darkest year, and the objective set beginning of the year was to first stay alive, and second to save our jobs. So from the negotiation standpoint, because end of the day, when we talk about GSCI, our ultimate vision and goal is to create that equity of 50-50 by 2025. So what has happened in the negotiations? So I have seen, with these resource actions and all, so there has been this, so one is the pros, and another thing I have seen is the con. The process with these resource actions, people have taken up, somebody has to fill that gap, right? So people got that opportunity to learn more. So I am a security architect, and I come from cybersecurity domain. So there is so much to learn if you fill that gap that is created by resource action. But on the con side, if you see, majorly from the negotiations, you are doing exactly similar job of equating to another person, but what happens on getting that promotion, or I am doing a work of beyond my paycheck. So how do we get equated to that? So that's a con. So I think negotiation is definitely got impacted with this pandemic because of this constant threat or a kind of a fear notion that is created. That to stay alive and to save your jobs. So continue doing whatever you could do, and see how you can advantage by tapping on the pros rather ignoring the cons of that part. So that is what I thought I should share in this forum. And this was a wonderful experience. I really loved each of the speakers' points. Vaishali, Shalini, Manisha, all of them was such wonderful things. I think really useful roundtable discussion, Maggie. Thanks for this opportunity to share my views as well.
Thank you. And any other points from the chat, Padma, Palashi, we should bring up in the forum?
Most of which is covered, and some of them have shared it as a chat message, not as a question to any specific speaker. Yeah. So.
Okay, great. All right. So I think a lot of points, and I was going to have this as a question, but a lot of people have already talked about some of the best practices people can adopt to keep sane. I think one more thing, Preeti, besides being alive and keeping the job, you have to keep sane. I think that is also important in this pandemic because it's been a huge change. And now where we are after so many months, all of us have kind of adapted to it and learned to look at the brighter side of things. However, one thing we cannot deny is the kind of strain it has put on the human experiences. Like Shalini said, trying to do something like a Chai Pe Charcha or having a very non-work meeting helps build some of those bonds. But even that, someone needs to sit in front of a phone or in front of a laptop camera to go through that. It's not the same as going away or really meeting near the cooler. So as we look at it, and as a final question, I just want to ask all of you to chime in is, how are these human connections? How much do they matter for work? And when people show up at work, it is easy to find out if someone is sick, someone is not feeling well, someone is not in the right mood. A lot of these things we can pick up and we can work around it. I personally believe that people bring their whole selves to work, right? And allowing that, because if this week someone is not feeling well for whatever reason, be it psychological or physical, giving them a bit of a leeway and then expecting them to turn their usual performance around next week. Those kind of adjustments are important because someone doesn't remain at the same level of performance throughout their entire career. So making those kinds of adjustments are difficult in this mode. I just want all of you to chime in on how you are managing this, either at your personal level. Some of you talked about communication. Are you using that with your peers, with your teams, with your managers? And how are you doing it by picking it up from your people for whom you have to give directions to whom you have to delegate actions to? How are you managing the human connections that are getting lost because of that?
So Maggie, let me go first. I think this is one of the critical places, right? As leaders, we need to make sure that we walk the talk. We set the examples. Personally, for me, it has been so I've taken up a new project during this pandemic, and whether I like it or not, I still have to step in on my previous assignment just because of the connections that I had prior to the pandemic vis-a-vis with the new leader who has come in, right? So it's been a very conscious attempt with each and every team member to have that extra connection, 5-10 minutes call on the phone, not on the video, right? And that has helped me, and it has actually put an additional meeting time for most of my my leadership team as well, because all these connections take time. It's not your regular one-on-one, it's not your regular meeting time. But then having said that, this 5 to 10 minutes call with almost like 23 people over a 3 days, 4 days time has helped resolve a lot of interpersonal conflicts, stuffs like that. But yeah, that is what has been keeping me, helped through negate, if I have to say, in person.
Mm-hmm.
But there's one more thing which I still am looking for. I used to do every 6 months a kind of a workshop with my team, and that's something I'm still figuring out how to do it effectively virtual. So that's something that I'm really missing, and I think my team is also missing. We used to do a lot of whiteboarding activities and all. So that's missing right now, I would say.
So extending on to Ashu's point, like she said that we should be talking to people on a more personal level, have a 5 to 10 minutes connect. We have established a small rule in our team that whenever we have a meeting, be it technical, non-technical, we always started on a personal note. So start every meeting irrespective of the agenda on a personal note, talk to people. So that gives a vibe of whether the person is feeling good or not. And I've had people coming back to me saying, Manisha, I'm not feeling well this week, or I have so-and-so lined up at home. Can I pick up a few less story points for just for this sprint? So that has really helped in building the momentum within the team. And that is really working well for us as of now. We don't have chai pe charcha kind of thing as of yet in the team, but that's a good thing. I'll see if I can implement that in my team. Thank you, Shalini, for that note.
Absolutely, Manisha. Maggie, I want to tell this group a couple of things in answer to your question. Ashu, congratulations on the new project. I have actually joined and picked up a brand new job during this pandemic. I completed 1 month yesterday. So brand new job in a leadership role. I have done all my connects, about 50 of them virtually. And the thing that I adopted was, no matter what time the call was, I always switched on my video, because everybody who knows me would know that I'm a very expressive person. I'll use my hands. I want to show my expression. So I would tell the people I was talking to, if you don't, if you're not in the place and in the mood, please, it's okay, don't switch on your video. But I have put in my effort to keep looking at the camera and letting them see me. I think that has helped. I do feel part of the organization. So what I wanted to share is, you have to continue doing your bit and believe that it will come back to you in a positive manner, both as a leader, as an individual contributor. And the second thing I want to say is that women don't do this very effectively. And I'm sure some men don't do this, but I'm biased towards women. Please ask for help. Please ask for help, because it is available. Pick up the phone, talk to your friend. I've done so many video calls with my friends. With my mom, I've had to make her feel okay, because elderly people were more worried. So please ask for help. Don't hesitate. Ask your husband to make that Maggie for tomorrow, and say, that's what all of us are eating. It is okay. So, do whatever you can to bring yourself to work virtually, and please ask for help. So those were my 2 things. Maggie, back to you.
Vaishali, do you want to go next?
Maggie, she certainly didn't mean she meant the 2-minute noodles, okay?
I know that.
I saw Maggie
okay.
smiling.
I'm the Maggie.
Yeah. So to your question, Maggie, just 2 things. One, like Gayatri mentioned, I think Shalini mentioned that as well, and Manisha somewhere mentioned it. What we do when we are on calls, especially if they are meetings with teams, I insist on a video. And I tell them, it doesn't matter, you haven't showered. Yeah, you know that one, right? Yeah, I insist on seeing the face, because I think when you see the face and when you see the eyes, there is something that we can pick up, especially if somebody is unwell, mentally, physically, you will be able to pick up. So we insist, I insist on a video call. The second thing, and this is very, I think, special about us women, is our sense of intuition is extremely high. We just don't acknowledge it, and we don't use it enough. So even if you're not on a video call, you're talking to somebody, even if there is a slight dip in the tone, if you are fine-tuned into your intuition, you will pick it up. It's happened with me several times, with people I know very well, with people I don't know well as well. But just, watch out for that intuition. You will know something is not right. It could be something really silly, or it could be something big. But if you get on to that thing that, okay, there's something not right, and all you need to do is reach out and say, hey, is everything okay? And then the tap just opens, right? And you get told things that you're thankful that you asked about. So yeah, 2 things, insist on a video call, and ladies, we have intuition. Hone into it and please use it.
Great. I think we only have Gayatri from the speakers list who hasn't gone on this, right?
I can go next. One tip that I can share clearly is creating a environment of safety where you say, okay, anything that you say, let's say if somebody who doesn't want to take a recording of the video or anything, I think that kind of we have a safety normally when we have a eye-to-eye conversation. The way I do with having a psychological safety is ensuring that be it recording, be it what information needs to be shared, what should not be shared. I think that sort of a psychological safety if you create and having a trusted environment with your team, I think that goes a long way. So every step of the way to ensure that empathy, I think I agree with what you guys are saying. I think it comes naturally for us to put ourselves into somebody else's shoe and say, hey, what do you think? Are we doing the right thing? We have the technology within our side to make it right, but we also have to ensure that we are putting ourselves in somebody else's shoes and ensuring that we are not hurting somebody just so that we want to get the right pace. I think that is something that we should keep thinking.
And I just want to open it up to everybody who's on the call, whoever wants to add in. We have a few more minutes, so we can take a couple of people sharing and then close, whoever wants to go. Anyone wants to say anything? Anjali, Aruna, Nivedita, Madhusmita, Mukta, Priya, Zainab, anybody? Okay, great. So,
I'm trying to talk something, but I'm not able to hear.
Huh?
Looks like Nivedita is trying to tell something, Maggie. Nivedita?
Okay.
No, sorry. I just unmuted myself. No, I think I really enjoyed this discussion. That's all I can say. It was very, very nice, very nicely put up.
Thank you, Maggie, for having us included. It was a nice discussion. Got to know about some.
The thought was we usually get some designated experts or speakers and we listen, but this was really, as a community, I thought all of us can come together and just talk openly about issues that are impacting us and what we are seeing. And it is our experiences and our perspectives that should ideally shape the workplace policies and where we go from here. So that way, I really want to thank every one of you for taking the time, coming here and sharing your views and listening in. There is a lot of information on the chat box also, which we are going to mine and put it up as, definitely this video will be up for everyone to look at and then listen to folks. And we're also looking at a blog or two coming out of it, because there is so much information between the chat and the conversations that we would like to capture in a way that everybody can consume. And then take it back. We'll see what actions we can recommend to the industry as a collective, as all of us together. What is it we can say? Some of us did come about, not just one organization, but can all organizations come together and have some common way of how they look at things have changed because of work from home in terms of how we appraise someone, how we treat someone, how we look at someone's performance, all of that. So I think a lot of good points here for us to take back to the community and to the industry. We will do that. If there's anyone who would like to volunteer for writing a blog, please reach out. We'll be very happy to take any help on that front. But yeah, as expected, definitely with this group of women, there is nothing less to expect, right? So as expected, it was a wonderful session with all of you passionately chiming in. Thank you so much for that. And then, yeah, thanks for the ladies who took the time to go into that form and add their 2 cents, which helped us create this set of panel with whom we can kind of focus and center the discussion around. That was very, very helpful also. So if we would like to do more of these things that really matter to us, I think this is something we can look at doing also, because we work with each other on many projects. So it is easier for us to come together and share our views also in this kind of forum. And I realize this is something we don't do. We try and organize for other people to talk. We don't really come together and talk so much. So maybe we should try and do these also going forward.
A big yes on that, Maggie. I think that's a very, very good point. You're right. I mean, we ourselves are, experts for our own happiness and well-being. So this was a very well thought and very, very well organized session. I'm glad we did it, and I've loved to be a part of it.
Yeah, I think this was our own chai pe charcha with a tadka of insights and absolutely.
Nicely put, Zainab.
Love this fishbowl kind of a concept. Thank you, Maggie.
And nice to see the communities and the committees come together, right? Because we've always worked in I mean, with our focus being on either community or GHCI. So I think it gave us all a chance to see who the other committee members or community members are, and that is also nice. So yeah, Maggie, we can do this more often.
Right. All right, folks. Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
And yeah, we'll all be in touch. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Maggie. Stay safe, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Oh, good to see you, Palashi.
Bye-bye.
Bye.